Everything begins with our heroes heading toward the Great Tree, traveling in a ship created by Nagumo. Yua mentions that only 3 labyrinths remain. Then, Nagumo tells Princess Liliana that he will drop her off near the kingdom. The princess then talks about why they shouldn't visit the emperor of the Hulshire Empire. Shay makes a sad face when that topic comes up, and Tio explains to the princess that Shea has a tragic history related to the Knights of the Hulshire Empire, the Imperial Knights. Shay goes on to explain that all of this happened before she met Nagumo and Yue. The Imperial soldiers attacked her people, killing many of her relatives and kidnapping others. Tio adds that the Hulshire Empire condemns all beastmen to death simply for being beastmen. And as they know, Shay belongs to a beastman race. Many of her relatives are now slaves in that empire. Koki suggests to Nagumo that they should save the beastmen, but Nagumo responds that in this world, treating beastmen as slaves is normal, so they shouldn't get involved. However, he also tells Kuki that he is free to do whatever he wants. Kuki gets angry and leaves, with Shizuku following to calm him down. Kuki says that Nagumo is cruel for not wanting to save the Beastman race, but Shizuku reminds him that Nagumo has suffered more than they have and might just want to leave this world. Suddenly, they realize that Nagumo is changing the ship's course, so they go to ask what's happening. The others explain that Imperial soldiers are chasing some girls. Kuki tells Nagumo that if he doesn't save them, he will. But Nagumo tells him to calm down and asks Shay to check who they are. Shay identifies them as Lana and Mina. Kuki insists they should save them because they look weak, but then the girls suddenly defeat the Imperial soldiers, leaving everyone speechless. Yes, if you remember from the first season, Nagumo trained the Haulia tribe, so now they are very strong. The princess asks why those bunny girls are so strong, and Shay explains that they endured Nagumo's training. A battle breaks out between the Haulia and the Imperials. The Haulia defeat all the soldiers, but one survives and tries to attack the bunny girls, but Nagumo shoots him from his ship. Nagumo jumps from the ship and goes to greet the Haulia, congratulating them on how strong they have become. Shay asks what they are doing fighting Imperial soldiers and where the rest of the tribe is. The young man suggests they move to a quieter place to explain in detail. So, everyone boards Nagumo's ship, where the young man explains that one day, beasts attacked the Haulia tribe. After defeating those monsters, they were left without weapons, and that's when the Imperial soldiers arrived, claiming the Imperial capital had been attacked, and they needed labor to rebuild it. The tribe's chief left with a group of Haulia, but when they entered the Imperial capital, they lost contact with them. Nagumo then decides they will head toward the Empire. Shay tells Nagumo it's not necessary, saying her family is probably fine, but Nagumo gently caresses her cheeks and tells her there's no need to pretend. He reminds her that she is important to him, which makes her confess she is indeed worried about her parents. Suddenly, the scene shifts to the Hulshire Empire's prisons, where we see a beastman inside making a strange face. Moments later, our heroes are in the Empire, and Nagumo notices the disaster in the city, caused by monsters that attacked, or rather, demons. Beast children are being forced to work, and one of them trips. A soldier's about to hit the child for that, but Koki stops him. Nagumo tells Koki to try not to get into trouble, but Koki accuses him of being a bully because he doesn't want to protect Shay's relatives. Nagumo replies that Shay is different from the other beastmen. After investigating for a while, they realize that many of Shay's relatives had caused chaos in the city. Hours later, Nagumo wants Koki and the others to distract the Empire's soldiers by pretending they are going to rescue a beastman from prison, so he makes them Power Rangers helmets. Meanwhile, in the castle's prisons, the beastmen say that Nagumo is like a dark lord and believe he is an ogre. Nagumo overhears them and insults them. They think they are hallucinating. Nagumo then frees the Beast Boy from the cell, while Koki's group begins attacking the castle disguised as Power Rangers. Meanwhile, Shay's father, the leader of the Haulia, is being tortured, but tells the Empire soldiers they are weaklings. Nagumo calls him crazy. Yes, friends, that's Shay's father. But Shay begs Nagumo to save him, so Nagumo takes down the soldiers. He then tells Shay's father that everyone else has already been freed, and he is the last one remaining. Hours later, far from the Empire, all the Haulia reunite, and Shay cries with joy. Later, they meet with Nagumo, and Shay's father informs him that when they were captured, they were interrogated all day because the Empire wanted to understand how the Haulia had become so powerful. He then says he believes the Haulia are strong enough to declare war on the Empire. Shay tells her father to stop saying crazy things, but Nagumo, since he was the one who trained them, wants to hear the plan clearly to prevent them from doing something reckless. Shay's father explains that if the Halia keep defending themselves, they will all eventually be taken away, so it's time to strike. He insists they must protect other rabbitmen villages that aren't as strong. However, he clarifies that they aren't fools. It won't be a war, but rather silent, nighttime assassinations of the Empire's high-ranking officials. Nagumo makes it very clear that if they fail, it could mean the end of rabbitmen all over the world. Shay cries, fearing for her family, but Nagumo reassures her, promising not to leave her loved ones alone. He then tells the Halia that he won't allow any of their actions to make Shay cry. Therefore, the plan will change. They will have to eliminate the Emperor directly, along with his entire family and friends. The next day, Yue is kissing Nagumo and asks him if Shay is also special to him. He confesses that both she and Yue are the two most special people in the world for him. To keep her from feeling jealous, he kisses her again, and then everyone finds them kissing. Meanwhile, the princess is talking to the Emperor, telling him everything that has recently happened in their kingdom, including how powerful Nagumo is. The princess advises the Emperor not to mess with Nagumo. Then the Emperor mentions that 4 clowns wearing Power Ranger-style masks attacked them at night. Internally, the princess wonders if these guys are crazy for doing such a thing. The Emperor starts questioning Liliana, as he believes Nagumo was involved in everything that happened the previous night, including the escape of the Rabbitmen. To make matters worse, he says that one of the fools, dressed like a Power Ranger, had the same sword the hero uses, which means Koki. To worsen the situation even more, the king is informed that the hero Koki and his friends are at the palace gates looking for Liliana. Meanwhile, a captain from the Emperor's army receives our heroes quite honorably. However, things get uncomfortable when the captain asks why that rabbit woman, referring to Shay, doesn't have a slave collar. Shay remembers that he was the one who slaughtered many of her tribe. The man begins insulting her, saying she won't be spared, even if she's with the hero. He tells Koki to hand over the rabbit woman, claiming he can give him another one instead. Immediately, Nagumo intervenes and warns the man to behave, causing him to fly into a rage. Later, the group meets with the princess, and she asks them, "What the heck did you guys do last night?" She scolds Nagumo, saying she knows he was behind all of it. She tells them they need a good excuse to convince the Emperor they weren't responsible for the previous night's conflicts. However, Nagumo remains relaxed, knowing they can take down the Emperor faster than the princess expects. Nagumo and the others then appear before the Emperor, and everyone is surprised when Nagumo treats him with great respect. However, the Emperor tells Nagumo he knows a lot about him and can treat him like everyone else. He reveals that the princess told him everything about Nagumo, which angers him. Later in a meeting, the Emperor questions Nagumo about his powers and the flying ships, asking if he plans to share them with the Empire. Nagumo admits he possesses many things, but states he won't share them with anyone. Not even the Emperor can stop him. These words put the Emperor's soldiers on high alert. The Emperor sits in front of Nagumo and acknowledges that he is a true monster. The Emperor then demands the rabbit woman, but Nagumo refuses. He also asks Nagumo if he had anything to do with what happened the previous night, to which Nagumo denies involvement. The Emperor asks what Nagumo wants in exchange for allying with the Empire, but Nagumo replies that there is nothing the Emperor can offer him. The Emperor then leaves and invites everyone to the engagement party of Princess Lily with the Emperor's son, shocking everyone. Koki bursts out, calling her crazy, saying she doesn't even like that man. Meanwhile, Nagumo leaves, saying he doesn't care about the matter. Later, Princess Lily dresses for the engagement, and then the prince enters, dismissing the maids so they can be alone. He immediately tries to abuse her, saying he will take her virginity that night. However, Nagumo sends a robotic spider to attack him, and it seems like the prince died. Meanwhile, everyone is elegantly dressed for the engagement party, while the Halia infiltrate the kingdom, since that night will be the night they eliminate the High Command. Following the initial infiltration of the Halias, a group of soldiers patrolled the surroundings of the palace, chatting frivolously about their desires to have rabbit women for their amusement. However, the tranquility was shattered when one of them noticed something strange in the shadows. Intrigued, he went to investigate, but turned around to find only his companion's fallen torch. Before he could react, he was instantly eliminated by the leader of the Halias. With the sector secured, they informed the rest of the group that the area was clear, and that the next step would be to infiltrate the palace. Meanwhile, inside the palace, the nobility was enjoying an elegant banquet, The heroes, dressed for the occasion, mingled among those present. While some were busy eating, Nagumo watched the situation closely. In the middle of the event, Princess Lily appeared accompanied by Prince Bios, which generated an awkward silence in the room. After the surprise, the ball continued while King Gar presented his daughter to the nobility. Nagumo, surrounded by women, then seemed oblivious to the tension. Now, one of the women present mentioned the rumor that he had saved Lily from an attack, piquing the curiosity of the others. To avoid being bombarded with questions, Nagumo invited one of them to dance. During the dance, Princess Lily interrupted, moving ahead of the others to dance with Nagumo. As the two moved around the dance floor, they exchanged words in a confidential tone. Lily, very close to Nagumo, asked him if it was okay to get so close, since Prince Bias was watching with obvious hatred. The princess, with an air of defiance, replied that she did not care about the prince's reaction, since that night she would be recognized as heir, and Bias lovers would lose all power. She even hinted that, if she ever needed help, she trusted Nagumo to save her. He calmly assured her that she was already safe, and that the crown prince was finished, which reassured Lily. As the dance ended, the other women made envious comments, speculating about Lily's future marriage. For his part, Nagumo tried to enjoy the moment, but was interrupted by Sie, who informed him that it was time to act. Before leaving, Nagumo gave Sie permission to act freely, reminding her that, at this point, she was the daughter of the leader of the Halia and could do whatever she deemed necessary. In the main hall, King Gar began a speech about his son's engagement, but his speech was abruptly cut short when the lights went out and a shower of arrows rained down from the shadows. The Halias, strategically hidden, began their attack. Although no arrows directly hit the king, he defended himself with his sword and a wind barrier while launching fire attacks to protect himself. However, the Halias took advantage of the confusion to eliminate the king's guards. Elsewhere in the palace, Sie faced a group of reinforcements led by Grid, an enemy who had underestimated her. Grid forgot that Sie was part of Nagumo's group, where no one was weak. In a fierce clash, Sie defeated the soldiers one by one, until she was face to face with Grid. Remembering the pain he had caused her in the past, Sie, with unrelenting force, dealt him a devastating blow in the stomach, forcing him to beg for his life. However, far from showing mercy, he launched him into the sky and finished him off with a blow that sent him to the moon, fulfilling his longed-for revenge. Back in the hall, the paralyzing poison that the Halias had spread began to take effect. This weakened the king, allowing multiple arrows to hit him and strike him down. With the king vulnerable, the leader of the Halias declared that the kingdom must accept their conditions, to grant them complete freedom and never interfere in their affairs. To reinforce their point, they placed the necklace of the oath on the king, making it clear that they were not willing to negotiate. Despite these measures, the king refused to yield, even after they executed his son, Prince Bios. The destruction increased, and the Halias continued to eliminate soldiers and wreak havoc on the palace. Finally, on the verge of despair, the king publicly agreed to their demand, declaring that the Halias, by demonstrating their strength, had conquered the castle. With this victory, the Halias obtained the freedom they had longed for. Hashim, a key player in the strategy, was congratulated for his impeccable performance, thus sealing the victory for his tribe. Then we see Nagumo with the Halias on the ship, and he explains why Verbergen doesn't want them, and that is that they consider the Halias sinners. Although at present things have changed after the king speaks with Nagumo, clearly upset for collaborating with the Halias, and proposes his daughter as a wife. But the girls are offended, but the king reproaches the princess for being with Nagumo dancing, although he denies the relationship. And the king says that the princess not having a husband, the kingdom will weaken too much, although the boys are happy for Lily, since she could be with someone she wanted. And the king proposes anything to Nagumo, but he says that he has what he wants in his arms. Then they arrive at Altina, where we see the tribe happy to be freed, although the forest, because of Nagumo, is destroyed, and Kaori restores it using her powers, and the tribes get on their knees, thinking that she is a goddess. And Ulfric is grateful to our protagonist for saving his daughter, although he also thanks the Halia. Then, the tribes make a pact to unite alliances against the next threats, since eternal peace does not exist. Then, in the meeting, they talk about the instability that there will be after the fall of the kingdom, and Gahard is arrogant, since he does not owe respect to any beastman, only to the Halias, since the others are scum. Sagumo scolds him and sends him to a different place through the portal. Then he tells Kam to show him his village, although Ulfric tells him that he wants to give him a reward, and he accepts the reward. Then, in the conversation of the tribes, Kam refuses to make an alliance with the other tribe and threatens them, telling them that if they cause problems to Nagumo or them, they will have problems later in the house where the girls will stay. They ask about Shay, and her father arrives at that moment and tells our protagonist where she is. Then both are in a giant tree in which she says that it is her mother's grave, and she says that her mother was brave and a great warrior. Then she tells him that she would do anything to pay him back for everything that Sagumo has done for her. He asks her for something, and it is to sleep in Shay's lap. The next day they watch Kaori's training and how well she progresses, and the boys are excited about the adventures. In the palace we see the heroes eating, and Lily crossing through Nagumo's portal, and talks to the other people about her relationship with our protagonist and her gratitude for being a hero to her. Then, in the forest, Nagumo is with the boys to enter the labyrinth, reading the instruction, and we see how they enter, and already being inside. Nagumo says the direction where they have to go. Shay stops and asks him why, but suddenly he captures Yue, Tio, and the big hero, and points the gun at Yue while telling her imposter, and where the real Yue is, and shoots her in the shoulder. But seeing that she does nothing, she gets rid of them, and says that the portal sent them to another place. And advancing through the labyrinth, a noise is heard, and the boys prepare for combat, and it turns out to be a swarm of insects. We see how the boys strive to finish them off, but Nagumo, only with his gun, gets rid of them easily. Then, when they finished with, we see the boys very tired. Then, a monster appeared, in which Kuki wants to finish him off, but Nagumo stops him. The others are confused, and stares at him, and suddenly says that it is Yue, and the monster, reacting happily, turns out to be her. Apparently that portal changed her appearance, left her without equipment, and cannot use magic. Then, Kaori tries to use her regeneration magic, but it does not work. Moving forward, they see a monster receiving a beating by other monsters, and the girls realize that it is Tio. Then we see her in that monster form talking to Nagumo, and tells him that the labyrinth made their physical forms change to realize if the companions have the ability to know who is an imposter and who is not. Then when the boys teleport, we see our protagonist in a room, sleeping, in which Yue entered, to wake him up to go to school. Then at school we see Shay giving him a hug from behind and says in her mind that something is not right, and begins to analyze the situations in which she is. That day, already in her class, we see how he feels strange analyzing the day, and Kaori appears to have his attention, and Tio also appears as a teacher, dressed provocatively in the afternoon, walking with Shay, and Yue goes to look for Mew in kindergarten, although on the way she meets a group of thieves in which Shay stops them very easily. And at the end of the day, together with Yue, he begins to reflect on how he feels, having a full and happy life, although something inside him is screaming. Then Yue tells him that if something does to him, she is missing. She will give it to him, and then remembers the oath he made at that moment and realizes in the false world in which he is, and gives himself a strong punch and reproaches the false Yue for being a bad imitation, while he returns to his other body and manages to get out of that world, saying that his is better. And when the world breaks the fall, Yue says that, congratulations, easy things don't last long. True happiness comes from things that you work hard, that are useless if they give you everything on a silver platter. And his challenge ends, and he wakes up in a room where the boys are locked in capsules, with Amber having the idealized dreams. Nagumo exits the trial and sees the others inside coffins, and they won't wake up until they overcome their trials. So he sits down to wait for them, believing they will pass the test. However, the one he misses the most is Yue. At that moment, Yue's coffin unlocks, and Nagumo carries her out as she has just overcome her trial. When she opens her eyes, Nagumo welcomes her back. He's overjoyed because she is the real Yue, and they embrace. She tells him that in her trial, he was a king, and they had 11 children. Just as they are about to kiss, Shay interrupts them and starts crying to stop them from kissing. Nagumo then strokes her ears to comfort her, and Shay explains that in her experience, they all lived together in her tribe. However, something inside her told her that reality was fake. She saw Nagumo, began following him, and that's how she woke up. Nagumo tells her he's glad she came back, because nothing is the same without her. Suddenly, Ryuta wakes up, talking nonsense about his experience, and when he sees Nagumo, he goes to hug him, but Nagumo doesn't let him. Instead, he pats his head and welcomes him. Suddenly, Kaori wakes up, and Nagumo asks her about her dream, but she blushes, implying that it was something perverted. At this point, the only ones left to return are the heroes group. So, Nagumo says he's going to rest, while that group returns. Hours later, Shizuku is the first to wake up. She tells everyone that she feels very tired. She also dreamed that she was a princess and that Nagumo was the prince, but she didn't tell anyone about it. Since the others still weren't waking up, Kaori used her magic to wake them. Once everyone is awake, they prepare to cross the portal, though they're afraid because they don't know if they'll enter dreams again. However, when they cross, everyone stays together. They keep walking and suddenly it begins to rain. Almost immediately, they are attacked by rolling slimes. Yue creates a barrier and Nagumo defeats all the slimes. In the end, Nagumo tells Yue to keep the barrier up, but she dismisses it, saying she feels strange because she desires him intensely. In fact, everyone starts feeling this way except for Nagumo. Later, they overcome the issue, and Nagumo informs everyone that they are in an underground location. He explains that the tree is so massive that what they are looking at are its branches, not its roots. Even though they are underground, suddenly Shay looks into the distance and freezes. When Nagumo goes to check, he sees millions of cockroaches below, something he finds extremely unsettling. He sends one of his machines to show the others the millions of cockroaches. Then, out of nowhere, the cockroaches charge at them to attack. Yue puts up a barrier, making the cockroaches retreat and form a ball, summoning super cockroaches. But that's not all. The portal emits a strange light that suddenly makes Nagumo hate Yue, and she also says she hates him. So they keep telling each other how much they hate each other. And now Koki loves Nagumo and says he won't let anyone touch him. Nagumo realizes that the magic of the cockroaches reverses feelings. Then Tio explains that this trial seems to work in such a way that the stronger the bond between two people, the stronger the opposite emotion becomes. And the worst part is that now they love the cockroaches. Even so, they start killing them, of course. We're talking about the small cockroaches. But then, the bigger ones come to attack, and Shay starts fighting them. Basically, everyone organizes to fight the humanoid cockroaches. Nagumo keeps fighting the cockroaches, and suddenly Yue attacks the cockroaches and Nagumo with some spiritual dragons. And Nagumo gets angry because Yue injured him with that attack. Suddenly, the cockroaches create a more powerful one that attacks with acidic power. However, Nagumo fires missiles at it and defeats it. Even so, more and more cockroaches of all kinds keep appearing, and those two keep fighting them. At one point, one of the cockroaches uses the shadow clone jutsu and dodges all the shots Nagumo fires at it. Even so, Yue paralyzes it, and Nagumo shoots it, finishing it off. But they realize that there are still many more humanoid cockroaches. All of them attack Nagumo at once, but Yue uses an attack called Asura, which is like a wind bomb, defeating and striking all the cockroaches. After that, Nagumo escapes through a portal, while Yue uses her high-level magic to fight all the cockroaches, defeating most of them. Suddenly, Yue tells Nagumo to give her 20 minutes because she is preparing a special spell, and she asks him to protect her. Both of them realize that the cockroach magic effect is wearing off, and they are falling in love again. Nagumo tells her that he no longer hates her, but still sees her as an arrogant brat. So Nagumo pulls out a super weapon and shoots at the cockroaches, but hundreds of millions of cockroaches swarm over them. Nagumo says there must be a cockroach god somewhere that they have to defeat to end this trial. At that moment, Yue finishes her spell, which is called Divine Purgatory, and it wipes out all the cockroaches. Nagumo tells Yue that her attack was so powerful, it seems like she defeated the Cockroach King. After this, they regroup with the others. Suddenly, everyone sees that a part of the branches of the great tree is glowing, and roots emerge from that part. Those roots lead them to a door, and now they appear in a place that looks like paradise. Tio tells them that this seems to be the tree's peak. They arrive at a place with a sort of statue, and suddenly an elf woman appears, congratulating them for passing several labyrinths. She tells them that she is the one who designed all the trials. She also tells them that she has just given them the magic of evolution, which enhances all powers by at least one level. She explains that if they train this magic enough, it will become the magic of a god, surpassing divine magic. However, there are 7 of these types of magic, and she and her companions were only able to create 3 because they are very difficult to make. Then, she gives Nagumo a compass, telling him that it allows him to find whatever his heart desires. It doesn't matter what it is. It could even be an object from another world, or lead him to another world. And these words leave Nagumo deeply impressed. And the elf tells everyone that if they obtain all the magic, nothing will be impossible for them. And afterwards, she turns into wood and goes back inside the tree. And Nagumo tells the other humans on the team that now, with the compass, they know the way back to Earth. And he tells those who aren't human that he will take them to Earth with him. So he tells everyone that it's time to return to Berbigan. Later, back in the village, the chief's daughter's harassing Nagumo, so Shay slaps her. And Nagumo tells her not to worry about anyone because she is special to him. And well, Yue doesn't seem to mind Nagumo giving love to another girl. Hours later, while they are having tea, Kaori asks Nagumo, since when Shay became special to him. And Nagumo tells her that even though no one compares to Yue, he still wants Shay to be all his. So he decided to treat Shay the way she should be treated. But since Nagumo knows that they all love him, he tells them that they are all special to him. And Yue tells Kaori that she accepts that Nagumo loves Shay, but not that he loves Kaori. Hours later, Shay tells Nagumo that she wants to talk to him about what he said before, and Nagumo tells her emphatically that she is special to him and that he doesn't want to see her in anyone else's arms. She cries, and immediately, Nagumo kisses her. And then they stop because everyone is watching them. And Nagumo tells Shay that they have been spying from the beginning, but he let them because there is nothing to hide. Then everyone is gathered and Suzu asks Nagumo for a favor, telling him to please help her become stronger because she wants to find Eri and take her back to Japan. Yes, friends, Eri was the one who ended the original body of Kaori. And she kneels because she knows that Nagumo hates Eri and what she is asking is difficult. And Kuki joins the request, recognizing that Eri wants to kill him more than anyone, but that he cannot leave Suzu alone, since Suzu wants to go to the Demon Kingdom to find Eri, but he is not going to leave her alone. And in the end, Kuki and this guy also ask Nagumo for the same favor. So Nagumo gives Suzu permission to go after Nakamura. Suddenly we see this guy named Freed, watching some zombie beasts soldiers, a mixture of zombies and beasts that are stronger than normal demons, and this man is admiring them. And suddenly Eri appears, asking him if he is happy with his creation, and he says that they are quite well made, and that he sent many of them to receive certain guests, and Eri is excited about this. That morning, Yaigashi is training when Nagumo wakes up and asks to borrow her black sword. She lends it to him, and he tells her he will strengthen it much more. Nagumo also says he will enhance everyone else's weapons. She falls asleep watching him work. The next day, they are on Nagumo's ship. While he pilots the ship, Nagumo tells everyone that the compass works very well, the only downside being that it consumes a lot of magical power. Meanwhile, Shay is very excited because they are now heading to the last labyrinth. Moments later, Nagumo says his airship can't get any closer to the labyrinth, so they have to land, and they land to find everything covered in snow. Shay jumps into the snow, but falls into a deep hole, and everyone else jumps in too, since they have to go down anyway. Later, they are deep in that place, and Nagumo tells everyone they should start exploring. They begin to walk, and Shay hears something. They see a cute little rabbit, and Shizuku gets excited seeing it, but then feels embarrassed as everyone looks at her. Then it turns out there are many rabbits, and one approaches Nagumo, who immediately destroys it, which was unexpected. So, the rabbits start attacking him, and he deals with them, making everyone wonder if Nagumo is going crazy. He pulls out a weapon to deal with the rabbits, and later, as they walk, Nagumo swears those rabbits were monsters, but no one believes him. Shay tells him it hurts to see him rip off rabbit ears like it's nothing, and Nagumo replies that the only thing he cares about is her, and not to compare herself to a mere rabbit, words that make Kaori and Tio realize Nagumo is serious about Shay. Later, as they walk deeper into the place, Suzu asks Shizuku if she's feeling okay, since she seems distracted, and Shizuku says she's fine. They reach an exit where there's a blizzard that freezes quickly, so Suzu creates a barrier to shield them from the snow until they reach what appears to be the entrance to a frozen cave. Inside the cave, ice birds appear, and Nagumo shoots them all down, realizing a camouflaged monster is controlling the ice birds. Nagumo warns that all the ice in the cave is controlled by the enemy, and then ice werewolves appear, which Nagumo destroys, leading to the appearance of the ice-controlling boss. Nagumo tells the others to handle the boss while he deals with the weaker monsters. They start fighting until Kuki defeats the boss with a super attack but faints from exhaustion. However, since the monster was controlling and creating more monsters with a red gem, it transforms into an ice bird with the gem, which Kuki couldn't destroy, and he wants to destroy it but is too weak. The bird then embeds itself, gem and all, into a wall, revealing a new door. So, the group goes through it, guided by Nagumo's compass, and Kuki gets nervous because he hears something. If you made it to this part of this video, comment the word Anigoat, subscribe, and remember, I upload 3 videos daily. I'll be waiting for you in all 3.